Hello and welcome to This Car Pod.
I am Kennan.
I'm Filippo.
And we start with the news, and specifically tariffs, which is our leading story for the fourth time in a row. Toyota Tacoma's coming over the border.
Yep.
A lot of tariff conversations this week. Now, just before we went live today, or before we recorded this, they announced a 90-day pause on tariffs.
Some tariffs.
However, that 90-day pause did not have any effect on the automobile industry tariffs, which are still going full speed ahead.
Yep, and those are 25% tariffs on cars coming from anywhere. There are some exceptions for vehicles that are built within the USMCA zone, but honestly, those are still unclear.
Yeah.
On
now,
exactly how those.
I don't want to rehash a lot of the stuff we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, but the interesting stories this week has been how manufacturers have responded to these tariffs, and there have been some varied responses.
Yeah, two real categories of responses. Response one is, we just aren't going to bring cars into the U.S. for a while. So Audi which has about 60 days of inventory.
Which, by the way, is insane.
Well,
not from the manufacturer's perspective, but like I worked for an automaker that imported cars. That is insane.
All right, well, let's start with Porsche. Porsche said last week, or at least there were reports last week, that they're not importing anything. And if it's on a ship right now, it's not coming into the US.
I don't know that Porsche has made an official statement on this topic yet.
But it was discussed in a boardroom situation, correct?
Yes, it was discussed. No, it was a dealer call. And it leaked out that they are going to not. So the leaked thing that Porsche is going to do is not import any more cars to the United States, which was the first of these companies that this came out. And I thought at the time, this was a week ago, that it was an unbelievable response to this, considering that's kind of the whole business. But then
Audi and Jaguar Land Rover have also said they're not importing any cars. And it makes some sense, right? Porsche excluded, they have some real inventory on the ground already. So Audi has about 60 days of inventory in the US. Now, is that a dealer, is that appropriately distributed? Probably not. But nevertheless, they have a little bit of inventory. Dealers can keep selling cars. And clearly Audi is hoping, if we don't import any cars right now, we won't owe any tariffs.
Right.
And we hope that tariffs will go away in the next 30
The automakers who are not importing are taking a bet that the tariffs are going to go away quickly. My assumption is that the fear for the automakers is if they do import some cars and then the tariffs do go away quickly, there will be a tranche of cars that was imported from April 5 through May 10 or whenever the tariffs go away that have a 25% tariff on them, and then those cars will never be sellable.
Or they'll have to eat the cost.
Or they'll have to simply eat that cost.
And they think that they won't need to.
They'll think that by sitting, they might be able to just avoid that, and by using on-the-ground inventory, they might be able to avoid that. Now, Jaguar Land Rover, that's probably easy to do. There's a lot of inventory, especially for Jaguar. Land Rover, less so. Audi, the Q5 is built in Mexico. So this is their leading product, probably globally, certainly in the United States. That's a tough vehicle.
They have all new lineup. The Q6 is a brand new vehicle, which should also be one of their big volume sellers.
Is Q6 also built in Mexico?
I believe it's built in Germany.
They got a lot of day supply on that, though.
It just came out. How many can be a dealer?
There's already big discounts.
Right, well,
not anymore, of course.
The second, there's actually three categories. Second category is manufacturers that have said, yep, we're going to be adding the tariff really clearly. We're going to be marking it as a transportation fee, basically. And prices will go up. Ineos is the clearest example of this. Grenadiers are 5% more expensive for any vehicle.
And Ferrari,
et cetera. And then there's a third category, which is manufacturers that are clearly trying to take advantage of this to sell some more cars and get some market share, even if it costs them substantial profit. So Nissan has lowered the price of the Rogue and I believe the Sentra. Ford is offering employee pricing to everybody through May or into early June. Hyundai is also doing a similar program. They're clearly hoping that if we discount pricing, people are going to flock to us right now. Will it cost us because some of our vehicles are built outside of the U.S.? Sure. But we have a lot of vehicles built in the U.S. and that we might be protected.
Are these brands doing this across their line, including on cars that are imported? So like Mach-E, which is built in Mexico, they're really?
They want to bring people in. They want to get the sales. And they think, here's our opportunity to get some market share up. And here's our opportunity probably to help our dealers a little bit. If we do a sale right now, then you get warranty claims. You get service going in through the service department. Even if we then contract later, we've maybe built enough.
I have a suspicion that it also sends a sign to the president. Hey, we're committed to this, et cetera. Like it's mostly the American companies doing this. You said Nissan also, but they have an enormous amount of manufacturing in the United States.
They do. Hyundai certainly does too.
Hyundai does too, yeah.
And I will say some others, Toyota is up here on the image. They have said that they're not they don't expect any increased pricing. Some other manufacturers, BMW on some lines of models, have said that they're not going to increase pricing until at least June. They're all kind of trying to figure out, like, either we don't bring any inventory in, we price protect, or discount, and that seems to be the
But Toyota has it. They've just said we're not going to see any.
They said that they're not expecting any immediate price increases.
I mean, Toyota is an unusual case because they committed a lot of production in Mexico for the Tacoma a few years ago before the new one came out. It's a high volume seller. It's a brand new product. It'll be interesting how long they can hold the line on no increased pricing.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be long if the tariffs remain in place, but I think they're all trying to play it a little bit day by day. Mercedes-Benz, is another example, has said that they're not going to roll out any price increases for at least a month or maybe 2 months when the news came out a couple of weeks ago. They're all trying to figure it out, but there are some that are passing along costs immediately. Yeah. Volkswagen has also said they'll do that. And then no importing at all is going to have repercussions later, regardless of whether or not tariffs continue or not. If they don't, they'll just be out of inventory, which is actually fine if you're a Porsche dealer, maybe. Yeah. If they do continue, well, then they'll need to bring it in and they gain nothing.
I will say, it's anxiety provoking if you work. I worked for Porsche, which is an importer, not a manufacturer here in the U.S., but Porsche Cars North America. And I text my friends there; they're all terrified. These are Americans working for an American company in America. If you're on the ground at a dealership, you're especially anxious.
You got to be terrified.
Are the cars going to not come here? If they do come here, are they going to be affordable by anybody? The stock market responded tremendously well today to the news that that a large portion of the tariffs have been paused.
They're reciprocal,
which seems like it was probably a pretty good idea. But the auto industry tariff still lingers and still will have like enormously damaging effects, including significant unintended consequences, I presume, unless the intent is also to hurt the American auto industry the industry.
There's no way around. I mean, Stellantis, which has factories in the U.S. and a lot in Canada, a lot in Windsor, Ontario, has done a bunch of layoffs at factories in both places because they ship parts back and forth. If they don't yet know how that will impact. Right. There's large impacts there. And obviously every manufacturer is certainly worried both about their specific vehicles, if prices go up, because they will need to eventually, or about the economy as a whole and whether they will have buyers that are in market.
Yeah. Now, on the subject of tariffs, another interesting thing came up about these 25-year personal import vehicles. Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about whether they're going to be included.
These are cars that are not sold in the U.S. that are legal to import after 25 years under the current.
So if you import a car, you pay a 3% duty. That's what it has been. Yeah. And now the question is it gonna increase? There was initially talk that 25-year imports were carved out of this. Now there was this fellow on Instagram who went to the customs office in Long Beach, one of the big ports, and they told him they're not carved out. I have no idea.
Filippo, it sounds like your dreams of importing a multiple might have to wait a little bit.
Well, he's okay paying 25% more on a multiple because it's $200.
Right. It's worth nothing.
$200, that's a whole lot of money.
And thankfully, the cars I'm interested in are worthless. It becomes the language as written had kind of a section saying for the cars that are coming in under the 25-year law, these sections don't apply, but clearly implementation is everything there and guys everything. So if the Port of Long Beach said no, we'll see if that's consistent. We'll see if they
if it's consistent. Hard to know. That is a major port where an enormous number of these cars are shipped.
For Japanese cars, they're coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So tariffs still remain big. I am encouraged by dropping the reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. I think that's a big positive sign. It is a sign that the administration does bow to market demands, does bow to consumer sentiment, which has been almost entirely negative, including from significant supporters of the president and the Republican Party in general. They have been almost entirely pushed back on this, and I think that it's a good sign that we're seeing a pause. I think that the auto industry tariffs are still a horrible thing for the industry, for car enthusiasts, for employees. But I think that we're seeing a good sign that maybe we come out of the tariff situation in a better place. We'll see.
Yeah, we're filming this on Wednesday, and the market today has been up notably, including auto manufacturer stock. Ford is up 9% today. Clearly, the market is saying exactly what you're saying.
My read on this is that the market is thinking, okay, even though Ford is up and they'll be negatively affected because the auto industry tariffs were removed, my thinking is that the market is looking at this and saying, okay, it's pretty clear that the president will be bowing to public demand. Yeah. For the last week, and he went golfing, and it looked like he was just going to be like, nope, we're doing this. And the market was very scared by that. Now it has become clear to the market that, hey, maybe this guy is going to be willing to be reasoned with about this issue, and so we will go down that road.
And maybe Audi, Porsche, JLR are correct.
Yeah. Maybe they are. Okay, next up, moving on to our next news story. Gated manual Ferrari. How could this be a news story? They haven't sold one since 09.
Been 13 years since the last manual transmission.
13 years.
Hold up.
What was the last manual gated
Ferrari, California, first generation.
Yeah,
The
which
last
was
manual
12.
Ferrari.
Wow.
which was that era, 10, 11, 12.
Yep, and didn't sell many of them. But
No.
Ferrari's head of product development has announced that there's a potential to bring in the manual transmission back, but it's not going to be for the cars we might expect. I thought maybe they would do it for like the 296 and make an enthusiast-y sort of car. It's going to be something with the Icona series, which makes sense. That's their ultra high-end, very
That does
rare,
make
very
sense.
collectible cars, and we have been saying that this is what they need to be doing, and it seems that they're starting to take that to heart, especially because Lewis Hamilton said that he wants to be involved with the project that will implement a manual transmission car back into line. A successor to the F40 is
This
how he
is a
phrased it.
public company. The concept that they haven't already done this is embarrassing. If I were a shareholder, a member of the board, I would be so mad about this. That this,
Agreed.
you
Or
look
so
at
happy
Porsche.
about this news.
Yeah, happy that this is possibly coming back. But you look at Porsche and you look at what they've basically been able to run with this manual transmission game and run far and run with dollars, euros as it were, flying out the back of their running wagon.
Right. Well said.
Well done. Well done.
You get my point, though.
I mean, look,
Crazy that Ferrari, it's taken them this long, given the clear demand. And it's not just demand from idiots in the used car market, like a lot of the people who want BMW to change their grille. This is from people who are paying $1 million for, manual 599s. Like, these are people who could be buying cars today new.
Precisely. And so it's encouraging to see that it seems that Ferrari actually does kind of listen to their customers. It's taken them a while, admittedly, but again, the 911R proved that there was a case for this, and Porsche capitalized on it and has just been raking it in.
And that was 7 to 8 years ago.
I know that was almost as long as the last manual transmission.
Yeah, those
for
were
Alfa
12s
line.
maybe. Those were like 10 plus years ago, weren't they?
Well,
So,
the
15,
99,
16.
it was a little later than that. But
Yeah.
regardless, a long time ago, coming up on a decade. So I'm happy to see it.
I
I'd
know
love to
that
see
you're sad that there's no 296, et cetera. However,
Does make sense.
they're going to come out with an F40. Like, they're going to come out with an Icona manual. Like, the SP3 was better than any Ferrari that's been made since the Enzo. We agree?
Wow.
Absolutely agree.
Maybe
it's
since the F50.
unquestionable.
I don't know.
I don't know anything
No,
about
I would say since the Enzo.
Okay, so since the F50, but the SP3 basically was better than the LaFerrari. Like, it used the LaFerrari motor without the hybrid BS. It looked better, it was cooler, and it was lower production, right?
Yes.
And it was a convertible, which most of the LaFerraris weren't. And now imagine throwing a gated in it.
And I pray, I hope it gets made to a V12. I would love for them to do one of those in a
You got to
or
assume.
whatever.
They're still doing it in the 12-cylinder. You got to assume they do it.
Yep.
Man, please let that happen. I mean, I'll never be able to afford one.
No one will.
No one will.
No one will.
but,
You think SP3s are expensive?
Yeah,
This is
this-
going to go nuts.
Totally. But what I hope is that is the case, and it further underscores to Ferrari, maybe we should continue doing this.
I wouldn't be surprised, because remember, that's exactly what the 911R did for Porsche.
Precisely. And I'm hoping...
There was a time when Porsche was getting ready to phase out the manual transmission completely. And then the 911R happened. They realized there was still demand. The 991.1 GT3 had all those tips. Now they kind of coming back. Now it's a staple of the Porsche product lineup. And not just on the high-end stuff, but like the manual ones sell for more on the used market. They have more desirability, et cetera.
Totally. So, and maybe, just maybe, that means that they might bring it to some of the lower tier models.
Some of which are hybrids. Now, I just reviewed a CRZ today.
Which is a hybrid manual. You're
Hybrid
right.
manual. It's possible, folks.
Has been doing it for a while. Just like the new V12 with the oval,
I can't imagine it going to any other models because they've been so focused on performance, and
I
manual
know,
is not going to be.
But what
performance.
Ferrari
change.
should be focused on is making
Do you have
any
money.
idea how much money Ferrari makes?
They make a lot.
Their profit is $137,000 per car.
They can afford some tariffs.
Do you know what? Okay, there was a great list from Car Industry Analysis. It was like a great.
Oh, God, he's gonna
Instagram follow.
speak this news
I'm
story.
going to do it. I'm going to do it. Okay, how many cars do you think other manufacturers need to sell to make as much profit as Ferrari makes in a single car?
Well, I understand, but they do sell that many cars. Like Hyundai probably makes more money than Ferrari.
Ferrari, as memory serves, is the most profitable, second most profitable up there. Hyundai needs to sell 56 cars to make as much money as Ferrari does per car.
But economies of
Admittedly,
scale.
they do sell that many cars, but Ferrari's making enough money.
I know. But
make that
again, they're a
clear.
public company trying to maximize every last dollar. And they've been ruthless about this for as long as we've been sentient. I mean, there was a time they weren't ruthless about it, but now they're ruthless about it.
Yeah.
And like, why not throw a stick in there? Stick
No,
option.
agreed. I'm glad they're doing it.
If you've been watching my videos for a long time, you'll remember I used to take my cars to CarMax to see what they'd offer me as a trade-in value. These videos were fun and popular as they would often give me a wildly inaccurate number for the cars. Submit your cool car to Cars and Bids in just a few minutes, and you'll be connected with an auction manager from my team who will help your car go live on Cars and Bids, where you'll get way more money for your car than trading it in to a big box dealer. Look at how much these cars sold for on Cars and Bids compared to their trade-in value. Here's a trade-in offer, and this is the Cars and Bids result. Here's a trade-in value and the Cars and Bids result. And this was a trade-in value, and this was the Cars and Bids result. Get started now and sell your car on carsandbids.com. Okay, move on to the next news story, which is the best news story of the whole week. Mercedes-Benz, amidst all the tariffs, has announced that they are bringing the AMG E53 Wagon to the United States. This is a massive deal because the current Mercedes station wagon product lineup for the last 20 years has been limited to an E350 or an E450 is what it's called now. So like a mid-tier 6-cylinder. And the AMG, the top performing AMG. And it's actually, this is almost designed directly for me. I went to buy a Mercedes station wagon. I've had many. And I just realized that the E63 wagon has lost me. It's gotten too harsh, too powerful, and too expensive. I don't need any of that crap anymore. It's just simply too much. And there's a market for those cars.
But I imagine there will be.
But as a guy who's owned 2 AMG wagons before, I am not that market anymore. It's just too much. This is going to be right in the sweet spot of perfection. It's 577 horsepower. It's still
with boost.
with the boost mode. It's which I'll never use. It's not a low amount of power, to be clear.
No.
But if they're doing 577 in this, then the next E63 is going to have 750 horsepower, underscoring my point. And this is going to have like $100 and some $1,000 price tag. It's going to be a great pickup for me as a CPO car in about 4 years.
That's exactly right.
And it also straddles the lines between cars that you want and cars that I want because it's a plug-in hybrid.
It's a plug-in hybrid.
It will be the only plug-in hybrid E-Class wagon for
It's
now.
a plug-in hybrid, which actually I really want. I put an electric car charger at my house specifically hoping that there would be a plug-in Mercedes station wagon. And here we are. I'm so happy about this. Seriously. My wife will drive this thing around on electric only. I'm so pumped about this. I'm so glad they're doing this. I think a mid-tier model is what they should be doing. I will say, my all-terrain is fast enough.
It's fast enough.
Like, I'll buy this to placate them because I'm glad they did it. But the all-terrain is really okay, guys.
You drag raced it against an F40.
Dragged it on an F40. Right. I lost, to be clear.
Well, you won one.
And the owner was careful shifting the F40.
The first time
you were not. You were not careful with
I am excited about this. Presumably there's no rear-facing third row, though.
I don't know. There hasn't been a lot of details. I'm curious about that because the all-terrain still has the rear-facing third row. Yeah, but the hybrid is going to be a 6-cylinder based on the one that's in my car. So I assume that it's possible to get a rear-facing third row.
All of them are like, whatever they call them. My goodness.
Hurricane 6-cylinder.
All of them are Hurricane. No, all of them are mild hybrids, so they have like a larger starter.
But
this is like a real plug-in
I know, it's
hybrid.
a real hybrid with a plug-in.
We got to put a battery somewhere.
They're not going to take up my third row. I need my third row. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
There also hasn't been an AMG third row in a while.
There hasn't been since the 2009 model year. There hasn't been a third row in an AMG, but this is a mild AMG. Okay,
mild AMG E53, not E63.
By the way, these are the first good wheels on the 214.
These are okay wheels.
Okay, I'm really excited about this. This is not a big news story for most people, but to me, to a guy who wants power but wants a calm car, like this is the combination of everything I've ever wanted in my life.
And I want a wagon and I want a plug-in hybrid, and here we are.
It's a shame that Donald Trump took all of my money from me in the stock market. I can't afford this anymore. Will they bring me a C180D with a cloth seats? That's what I can afford now.
Mercedes, if you will, I'll buy one too.
You won't.
Staying on the topic of Mercedes,
here we go.
So if you can't quite afford the E53 wagon, there is a Mercedes for you. So of course the C63.
There's a few.
Quite a few. But if performance is your thing,
CLA.
I mentioned the C53 specific, which I'll come back to in a second. Now, this is the C63, which we knew and loved, and the current one we don't love. It's
bad.
a 4-cylinder. You said specifically how much it and Mercedes-Benz agrees with you that it was the wrong call. They're rolling that back quickly, and they're going to be putting in a plug-in hybrid 6-cylinder engine from The E53.
Can I make a
enough
quick
power,
point
yeah.
here? Can I make a quick point? The first 3 news stories, and by the way, we're not tailoring these. The first 3 news stories, except for the tariffs one. Ferrari's going to do a gated. I've been saying
Praise
it for
the
years.
Lord.
I've been saying it for years. Mercedes should do a plug-in wagon. I've been saying it for
You've
years.
been hoping for years.
And Mercedes is pulling the 4-cylinder out of the C63.
I mean, we
I've
all
been saying
knew.
it for years.
Well,
Hey, folks,
for a year.
but you get my
all
point.
right. Being correct about that is like
I mean,
predicting
I want
that
you-
San
sky is
Diego's gonna be
blue.
sunny.
I want you quickly to go to the next news story, and I want you to introduce it.
Okay. All right.
We'll get back to this. Quickly go to the next news story. Tell
All right,
us about this.
There was a news report this week that Alfa has taken a consultant, found a consultant to figure out what to do with
You
Maserati.
see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I put 2 and 2 together.
And
here.
one of the options is that they will maybe get rid of Maserati. They'll spin it off.
Alfa
they'll
Romeo
close it.
has Stellantis has hired McKinsey,
Yeah.
and they're going to pay him millions of dollars
Yep.
to figure out what to do with Alfa and Maserati, 2 disastrous brands that are in horrible situation.
Yep.
I have predicted, in fact, dictated to the auto industry the last 3 news stories before they happen. Alfa, call me. I'll do it for a lot less.
That's certainly true.
I'll do
McKinsey should be in fear of your consultant.
I'll do it for 2 things.
Oh.
The new Icona manual
Yup, done.
and an F40.
We are probably at the right price point, yeah.
No way, I'm way under. McKinsey's going to charge me $20 million and
Yeah,
it's still going to
so
fail.
true.
There is no question it's still going to
So
fail.
true.
Because they don't understand.
McKinsey doesn't understand cars.
Consultants don't understand car industry. They've tried so long for so many years, but they all live in New York and they just graduated from college. And the only car they've ever had is their parents' hand-me-down LR3. That's every consultant.
If
Right.
they're lucky.
This is how you end up with the advertising campaign that Jaguar used recently. That's exactly
So go back to the previous news story.
Yes, no.
C63, they're going to put in. What is
Yeah,
it?
so it's a twin turbo 3-liter straight 6. It's same one used in the E53. They haven't released
Makes
power
sense.
figures, but you have to imagine going to be the same as that car, which means that it will be
Well,
slightly less powerful in the current. C63.
It can't be the same. There's no way they can go that far down because the new C63 has like 2 million horsepower.
Well, they're saying that it's going to be less.
The new
but they haven't
C63
put the
has
number.
670 horsepower. They can't go down to 570.
But
They can't do that.
603 with
They
with
could. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure. They have been very cagey about how much power.
I will
it makes,
tell you,
which
if you gave me the
might
choice,
tell you-
I've driven that 6-cylinder because I drove the new E53 sedan. I've driven that 6-cylinder. I've driven this. I would take 70 less horsepower in
Yep.
that 6-cylinder
I think that's
all
what they're betting.
day.
I totally agree with that. And a lot of publications have been saying this isn't the engine we want. We want a V8. Yeah, I get that. But like, I'd way
disagree.
rather have a straight 6 than a 4. And it kind of moves it in line with like BMW currently has
Yeah.
straight 6 power. Audi also using straight 6
Also,
power.
this is a great. Anybody saying that has never driven the straight 6. I've been driving it daily for the last couple of years.
a great engine.
Plus, now there's the plug-in with even more power. It's a fantastic
Good engine.
powertrain.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One of the great 6-cylinder powertrains that has ever existed in our
Man,
society.
you have quite the set of 6-cylinder powertrains. That, the Sequoia, man.
That's also a good 6-cylinder, but it ain't nothing on the Mercedes.
just need to get a 993 turbo. You'll be good to go. But like, I think, but nonetheless, it is telling that fast Mercedes, like, if we made a
Yeah.
mistake, we'll put 6 cylinders back in the car.
The
Apologies for
worst
that one.
part, like it had all the power in the world, but it was not a good powertrain. By all
And
accounts.
this is proven, especially if they go down in power. This is proven. Like
Well, and-
horsepower is not the ultimate metric. The Charger EV Daytona proves that also. Horsepower is not the only
car
thing we want.
proves a lot.
We want good. You want power and we want good, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Often when we make orders for lunch, Doug just says, "Give me good," and that's exactly what we're doing here. They're giving us good.
Good. All right, move on to the. We can go past the Alpha news story.
Yeah,
What's
that's all.
okay? we got-
Yes, Willow Springs. So we got some very good news. Willow Springs recently has been up for sale. The facility itself.
This is a racetrack.
This is a
somewhere
racetrack
in
in
the desert.
Southern California, very famous, has not changed much since the 1960s, which is why it was used in the Ford versus Ferrari movie, but it is recently sold to a private equity firm called Cross Harbor Partners. They joined up with Singer Automotive Design.
Oh, really?
Want to make the Porsches, yes, to purchase Willow Springs. Now, this
Didn't
is
know this.
This is a really
The
big deal
news is from
because
today.
this is again,
Kennan's on top
it's
of it.
enthusiast. It's enthusiast based and sports car based. So
No,
Filippo's
it's
gonna
a
take a
good
nap.
news story, but he's sitting here like he's shocked. We talked about that. We
went through the
rehearsed
slides
this.
in advance.
I also added this story to today's podcast,
But he's shocked.
but I didn't read it.
Well,
I just saw the headline.
you're a great actor, and the Academy Award goes to
Thank you.
Filippo.
More importantly, I didn't read
what's
it.
going on?
So they're really focused on making a lot of changes at Willow Springs. Now, again, like I said, Willow Springs, not a lot in the way of safety. They're looking to change that. So they bring in
the best
two-time
part
long
about
winner Alex Wurs is going to be like doing a whole thing going over the safety. like safety of the track and improving stuff there. But they're also going to be adding quite a few facilities. One is going to be for a technology hub for manufacturers to come and test stuff. They're also doing a car storage place, potentially doing a museum. Like they have a lot of ideas.
I got an idea.
We'll see if it comes to fruition, to be honest. But
I got an idea.
they want it to be more like Sonoma and other racetracks like that.
I got an idea.
Sure.
Since I gave all the other news stories their ideas today. Here's my idea. You know how the Nürburgring is this giant racetrack where everybody tests all their stuff because it's so giant?
It is giant.
Make it bigger.
Here's what you do for Willow Springs. You know how there's 3 tracks? Make them all, put them all together.
Ooh.
One massive track. Massive. So you got like a track, and a track. You connect those mofos. You got a track. You put this track goes to this track. Streets of Willow, Big Willow. Now there's
just willows everywhere.
You've heard of Big Willow? Now there's going to be gigantic Willow.
Titanic Willow.
Titanic Willow.
Well,
it's going to go all the way to Santa Cruz.
I don't
know where Willow Springs is, to be honest with you. I went there once. I still don't know where it is.
I think much like Thermal, they said they're going to still remain open to the public. So like Thermal, I think there will be like a track that is like that, a track for members. And I suspect that's how they will split things up.
Right.
But of course, there are some concerns with this. One is that it's going to lose kind of the charm, like you were saying, that it has, of it being like very 60s. But I think on the flip side of that, it's going to bring a lot of amenities that people actually want to go and drive cars on a racetrack want. Let's be honest. You had a spin recently. You want safety to be there, like as part of the track experience. You recovered it very well, and it was a very admirable job. They're going to bring more of a modern experience to it. I think if they balance it carefully and retain some of the
it can be really
it can still be very fun.
I think so
cool.
too.
And let's be honest, like Willow Springs has just been out there floundering for a little while. So like I'm glad to see like this specific racetrack being preserved and like the love of the Southern California car culture sticking around. And it also means that interesting racing can come to this. NASCAR could come to this. There could be a lot more interesting stuff that like race series that end up on this track.
NASCAR doesn't only do ovals now. They got a lot of road courses.
The reason I want to say is Sonoma Raceway is going to be managing day-to-day operations, and the company that manages them is involved with NASCAR. So I have a suspicion they'll connect the dots.
Okay, I'm glad somebody bought it. It's a big deal.
I want to talk. It is a good news story, or it could be bad. We'll see.
No,
I want to talk about the final news story very quickly. I want you to say it, and then we move on to it because we got a lot to cover. Say it, move on.
Kia is hoping to sell 90,000 electric pickups in North America a year. They said that today. Move on.
There is absolutely no chance that occurs. Maybe they will. Okay, now, no, actually, that's an interesting story also with the tariffs because they sell this truck here, which is called, you call it the Tasman.
They don't sell that here.
But it's called the Tasman. And no, it's here on the screen.
Here in North America.
They don't have the tariff the screen. The screen, we're set.
Digital projections are
I'm going to be honest, it's based on where that's probably built.
But they'll have to, but
104% more
can't be the Tasman. It'll have to be something else because
I don't agree with the pronunciation.
You said it a minute ago.
I don't agree with your pronunciation.
You think it's Tasman? You think it's not Tasman?
No, I don't remember what I said.
Because Tasman is from Tasmania. It's Tasman. That's like what you say. That's the word. It's be like me saying Acura and you being like, I don't agree, but that's what it is. All right. The point is, it's going to have to be a different truck or this truck, but built in the U.S.
It is a different truck. It's based on a chassis that they're also going to hope to build some like people mover type vans and other pickups on. That is like an electric thing. This is not the Tasman is not an electric pickup.
Yeah.
This is like on a different chassis. We just don't have designs.
Interesting. I mean, this could be interesting. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot. The only EVs that are like really desirable and have retained value are the Rivians.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The truck SUV EV world is probably where it is. The Scouts are going to be hot.
The Scouts have been incredibly hot in pre-order land.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
90,000 is
90,000 is a lot. That means they're going more for like Maverick type territory, which will be interesting. I mean, that's not an electric, but they do a hybrid, and like that's probably. I imagine that's the size area they're thinking about.
Or like Nissan and Toyota have tried to do. They want to compete with.
They're not going to be full size.
And Ford.
Kia will not be making a full size electric truck. Are you out of your mind?
They compete heavily
Ford
in a segment that Ford can sell plenty of F-150s.
Not Lightning.
Not Lightnings.
Well, if Ford can't sell them, then Kia ain't going to show up with their first truck and it's going to be an electric full size.
You would have said the same thing in 1998 when the Tundra came out.
I would have said the same thing in 2005 when the Titan came out. And you know what? I'd be right.
They had two very successful generations.
They had one mildly successful generation. The second
I wasn't going to call that one successful.
The second gen was only sold to Nissan employees in Nashville so they could tow their boats to the lake.
I hate when mom and dad fight.
Okay, next up is the Talk Cars segment where we talk about cars. We have been talking about cars. Now we do it more.
Ooh.
There's a couple of important things to talk about with the Talk Cars, and the most important is the Bentley Dominator. Now, For those of you who don't know, I'm obsessed with the Sultan of Brunei and his cars.
Not necessarily with his decision.
It's actually his brother, Prince Jeffrey. And he commissioned all these cars in the 90s, and one of the cars he commissioned was a Bentley SUV, which was called aptly, in my mind, the Dominator. And they made about 11 of them. They all were sold to Brunei. And somebody sent us this one from a model car retailer in Italy. And here it is. And I didn't even know they made a model car of it. Otherwise, I would have bought it years ago. And Sean, our producer, he said, hey, let's put it on the set. And I said, no, I'm taking this home. This is the greatest gift that anybody has ever given me. The single greatest. Bentley Dominator. It's blue. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at the model, it's quite ugly.
It's heinous. It's a really ugly
I've always said that if I could have any car in the world, there would be one of the Sultan's Dominators.
Stand by it.
And now that I'm sitting here today looking at this wonderful gift that someone has given me, I completely disavow what I've said before.
I disagree. I think you should lean into it. I think you absolutely.
Why is the rear overhang so dramatically large?
It's going to impact your off-roading.
You can't off-road with this at all. Anyway.
Right, because that's exactly how you would use it, is to take your Dominator off-road.
I would take it's called the Dominator. You don't think I'm just going to dominate pavement. I'm going to dominate the dirt and him.
But being a Bentley, I suspect mineral oil might be what dominates you.
That's true. You know, I didn't think about that. That's a mineral oil era car. Although, wasn't it based on the P38? Imagine adding the mineral oil
to a P38.
Just when you think you couldn't make it any less reliable.
Wow.
Luckily, there are only 13 of them. So.
Man, you put thank you so much. You put an S54 in there and you really have your work cut out for you.
It is fascinating to me that Bentley at all thought that when they did the Bentayga that they needed to go back to this to like look at how they did it before.
The report was that when they were coming out with the Bentayga, in order to conceptualize it, they had Brunei ship them the Dominators back so they could take a look at it and see what they did last time.
I have to give...
And there were pictures of the cars on airplane tarmacs, so apparently that did happen.
So cool.
Yeah.
Presumably they came in to fix some leaks too, I'm
Probably
guessing.
they were like, listen, if you send these to us, we'll also make them work again.
Credit where it's due. This model is actually very nice.
Which is especially hard to do because they didn't make the cars. How do you make a model of something that we've seen 7 photos of?
Man, those designers took their time, but they invested it well because it's beautiful and now it's here on our set.
Can we talk about one other SUV?
Can you pull up the Land Cruiser? You're talking about the Land Cruiser?
I think it's important.
Okay, pull up the Land Cruiser. Folks, one of the greatest cars in Cars and Bids history is live right now. He's just going to scroll.
Yeah, it's a wild strategy.
Well,
I'm going to tell you what this is. I'm going to tell you why it's special. So the 200 Series Toyota Land Cruiser, which is one of the better Land Cruisers, it was sold from 2008 to 21. Because the best is
one of the 4.
No, the best is the 300 Series LX 700H, which I want.
It's one of the 4. Yeah.
Over trail.
Filippo's leaving Doug hanging.
I prefer Nori.
The point is, he's tired of hearing me talk about the LX 700H.
Aren't we all? But
Yeah, we are, including my wife. So this is a Land Cruiser, and the Land Cruiser, the 200 Series Land Cruiser, sold from 08 to 21. For the final 2 model years of the Land Cruiser, the 200, they made a heritage edition that was a special edition model. It was not the only one they made. You could get a regular or you could get the heritage. And in 20, the heritage was only offered with 2-row seating. But for 21, the final year, they offered it with an optional 3rd row. And so in the minds of a lot of the Land Cruiser community, a 21 Heritage, which was like the special model, final model year, with the optional 3rd row, which really added a lot to the capability. I don't know why they didn't do it with the 3rd row and the other ones, because everybody wanted it, is like the dream Land Cruiser.
It really is.
And we have one live right now that is in magnetic gray, I think they called it. Yeah, magnetic gray. A 3-row magnetic gray Heritage. There's maybe 100 of these, maybe 50 on the planet.
They were expensive when new and hard to get.
This is a really, 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 really special car. In the Land Cruiser world, this is really, really cool. And so it's live on the site right now, and you should buy it or not, or you should leave it for me. I don't know.
Leave it for you.
You're off.
I'm done with cars. I'm off cars. Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it to people's attention. No, I want an LX 700. I think that 300's better. But there's a good chunk of the community, call it 99.6% of the community.
You're giving 0.4 to the 300? Wow.
Those 0.4 think that the 100 is better, and no one thinks that the 300 is better except for me. Sadly, unfortunately, the 300's been tariffed out of existence. Anyway, this thing is live right now, and it's the coolest car ever to grace the website.
It's up there.
It's up there. Magnetic,
Yeah.
Heritage, 3-row. When these were new, I was like, I gotta buy one of these because I know they're gonna hold their value like
I remember
crazy.
this.
And I
And you
shouldn't.
didn't?
I didn't because it still doesn't have self-driving.
No, it does. It has self-driving as long as you don't go to 0.
Yeah, it has adaptive cruise,
maybe
but
it doesn't have
but it
blinking.
cuts
You
off at
can't.
20 miles an hour.
20,
Yeah, so you can't use it in traffic.
which is the whole
whole
point.
But when
What
you're
were they
driving
thinking?
across Africa,
Right.
Right.
speed.
You're not.
And
doing
this one has
20
done
on
that. These are great photos too. The heritage wheels, the heritage
These
badge.
are really, really nice.
comments went deep on it immediately, by the way. Like apparently the stitching looks a little bit different than it does in some other photos.
This is everything about this car is perfect, except it was in a light front end accident, and so the grill was
That's right,
replaced
the
with the
regular grill.
non-heritage
That's right.
grill. Now, two things about this. I went on eBay. The grills are available, and it's actually the grill and the fog light surrounds. They're available and they're cheap. You can get the whole set for like $800 on. Which is relatively affordable considering the value of the car. Yeah, you can see it here. It's very slightly different. It's like
Yeah.
a slightly different color, different bars. It's very minimally
I can
different.
see how the body shop would have ordered the wrong one.
Yeah. Or some people
I
might think it looks
looks a
better,
little better.
to be honest with you.
wouldn't
There's
be
some
wrong.
folks out there who might say. Okay, anyway. I want to talk also. Give us your Talk Cars segment, please.
Okay, I was in Mexico City last weekend for just a little weekend trip.
Yeah.
Shout out to the one person that from Detroit that was visiting the same coffee shop and said hi.
Did you
by the
know
way,
this?
I did.
You got
it was
recognized
nice to
in
meet you.
Mexico City.
I love Mexico City cars.
Yeah.
They're not exotic cars.
No.
I saw like a Huracan and a McLaren.
Yeah.
That once.
There
That
is
was
a
it.
lot of money in Mexico City, but there are no
Not
nice
exotic.
cars in
But
Mexico
it's
City.
a fascinating blend of. It's a very European feeling city. It's
is.
a fascinating blend of big American cars, lots of Suburbans, especially the nice areas.
Yep.
Lots of every big SUV, lots of old like '90s Chrysler products, and then there's European cars.
Yep. Peugeot.
Citroen, whatever, Renaults, and then there's also Chinese cars now.
Yep.
yeah.
I had an Uber that was a BYD D1, which is like a purpose-built just for ride-sharing apps, Chinese little taxi cab thing. And I love the combination
Pull
of
this up.
things.
BYD D1. I had the same thought when I was in Mexico City. I was astonished by this unbelievable, probably nowhere else on the planet gives you that level of combination of American and European
And, like, deep
in one
American.
place.
Yeah.
Deep American.
And,
Suburbans,
and now
pickup
Chinese.
trucks.
There are BYDs everywhere. There's Chinese brands that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
By the way,
MGs all over the place.
passenger side, sliding rear door. Driver side,
You can see it here.
regular opening rear door.
There's the driver's side regular door handle in the regular place. There's the passenger side slide.
For safety when you get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just love that like mix of things in the market.
One thing I will say, the reason for the mix is because the market is not particularly powerful.
No.
And so like the US market can make an enormous amount of regulations and automakers build cars for the US market. The Mexican market has to kind of take what's available.
Yep.
However, the countries that have to take what's available often have the coolest car markets. I noticed the same thing when I was in New Zealand. It's the same thing in Malta. You end up with just weird crap.
All the weird. All the weird.
Because it's like Chinese, yeah. Well, like we don't want to regulate out anybody. We want to have as much choice as we can. Peugeot, yeah, bring it in.
Yep.
But Mexico City is really where the Latin American market and the
Yeah.
American market like collide.
Because
If you're at
it's
the
one of the
border,
richest cities in Latin America, and
Yeah.
so you do get like the large American
Yeah.
cars and a lot of like Mercedes GLSs
yeah,
for some reason, and like
but low
stuff
spec.
like that.
You saw low wheels.
I also saw a Maybach GLS.
If you're at the border, you don't see a lot of the Latin American spec cars. It's not the same. It's more American type stuff. There's a lot of American influence on the border cities.
Yep.
But you get far enough south,
You get some interesting.
it is
cars.
weird.
I loved it. Loved just walking around and looking at all the cars.
Feels European. Okay, we got
Also
to
saw
talk.
a new Tiguan.
We got to talk market report. We got to do market report. Market report is brought to you by Sean, our producer.
No, the market report is brought to you by Cars and Bids. Go check out carsandbids.com. If you have a cool car, sell it on Cars and Bids by clicking the sell a car badge at carsandbids.com.
Or by using the Cars and Bids app
What about you think?
Sean,
on iOS.
our
devices.
producer. Sean has a heinous G-Wagon. Okay.
He does.
But
Less heinous now.
there's a lot of stuff I want to cover market report. However, the questions this week were the best we've ever had.
Whoa.
We got to get to the questions. But market report, there's two things I want to talk about.
Oh,
Okay.
One is I wanted to give a quick discussion of the car market in general, and I'm curious what you guys think. We haven't talked about this before. Been surprised at our sales.
they've been strong.
been
There
strong.
have been strong results on a lot of cars, which when the market is down 3% day after day after day after day, it's surprising.
Stock market's down almost 20%. Not after today, it's
but-
less. And maybe by the time this goes live, it'll be even better. But in the last few days, it was down almost 20%.
Look at that 992 GTS.
Well, one of the things I specifically wanted to talk about was yesterday we had a lot of recent Euro cars bring all the money. Go back. That 992 GTS got all the money. That X3M competition got all the money.
Yep.
That Audi e-tron GT, which has been a tough sell if we're being totally honest, got all the money. And
we sold a 992
I think there
Turbo
was
today.
one more. This V60 Polestar got all the money.
Okay, V60 Polestar's been getting all the money, period.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but this is the new body. And yeah, we sold the 992 Turbo for big money today.
we sold it for 10 grand above sticker.
My assumption is...
Two-year-old car, three-year-old
It's
car.
a two-year-old car with no miles, to be clear.
I know, but still.
My assumption is that there are people who are seeing what's on the horizon. We just lived through COVID and are realizing if I want to get into a car,
get it now.
I'm going to buy you.
And they're not wrong. Porsche's not, if you ordered a 992 Turbo now, who knows when you'll get it?
You won't.
It might be a year, it might be 3. They might stop importing them. Who knows?
Yeah,
They have stopped importing them.
Yep, they might tell you no for now.
Yeah,
you
they
may
will.
actually get
They
a no.
probably take your order, but
But it might.
I don't know if it goes much further than that.
I think this is what we expected would happen eventually, right? As new car prices go higher because of tariffs, as inventory decreases because of that, you get an increase in values in the used market. What I'm surprised by is that it's happened already,
Totally.
and it's happened when the market is as
yeah.
tumultuous as
Yeah.
it is right now.
You know, there's a theory among people who are less informed that the stock market is entirely for rich people. But the truth is, significant losses in the stock market points to a non-healthy economy, which eventually will affect your job and your ability to purchase things. So I've been a little surprised at the health of, this car brought 113.5. It was a lot more than I was expecting, to be honest.
It's a 2022 GT4.
I think we're already seeing either people are hedging against a supply reduction or they already think it's here, or I'm not really sure. I've been surprised.
It's a little surprising.
My assumption, everybody's come to me and been like, Cars and Bids is going to do so well with the tariffs because 95% of the cars we sell are completely unaffected. That was a possibility, but I also assumed the economy would take such a hit that there would be no consumer confidence to buy any car, new or used.
That was exactly what I was.
So far,
That may still happen.
Seems like it's better than we maybe were expecting.
so far.
But I mean, like you were saying, let's see what does tomorrow bring.
Yeah.
Don't really know. So I think some people who still can afford it are jumping in and going for it. And I don't think that's a bad move necessarily. We'll see what.
No, it might not be, especially if they can afford it. Like if they're sitting here, their job is good, or they're retired, or they have a lot of cash on the sidelines. Honestly, a car might be a smarter place. I've been thinking a lot about how my cars are probably my most stable asset at the moment. To be perfectly honest.
I mean, let's use that 992 Turbo S as an example. 230 grand right now. If a new one becomes 25% more expensive,
right,
suddenly your value of that car stays flat or increases. And if inflation is higher, as it may well be with tariffs, okay, well, you just parked something in an asset that's not devaluing.
Declining. Which honestly right now is a pretty okay place. With bonds declining, that's a pretty okay place. By the way, I'm not trying to shill for the company. I would prefer there to be no tariffs at all and have that affect the company negatively if it is the case.
Yep.
I think that the tariffs are a horrible idea and incredibly stupid. However, it does seem to me like, at least from the early days of looking at this, especially some of these Euro cars are doing better than I was expecting.
You expect when there's a very tumultuous stock market that people are cautious. Seems like people are actually taking a little bit different approach.
People who lived through COVID, that market recovered very quickly and led to extreme shortages. I see some parallels here.
08 didn't.
Oh, it didn't. And so it's hard to know which is which, but this feels more like COVID than 08 because it was kind of created and thus could be uncreated relatively quickly.
Today shows it.
Today proves that. And so maybe you want to get in while you can.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it's an interesting situation.
32 grand for that S65.
And our sale rate has been high.
Yeah.
The value on the cars has been strong. Maybe this doesn't last. Maybe what happens is the tariffs do significantly impact the economy and people do lose their jobs, confidence goes off, and then we can't sell anything. That's also possible.
We're like 2 weeks in.
We're 2 weeks in. We don't know what's going to happen, but for the first 2 weeks, I am surprised how it's going.
Agreed.
Well, I don't disagree. Of course, you've proclaimed that you can read the future based on those past cars that have come through. Do you want to make any proclamations about what's going on?
Yeah, I'll make a proclamation. No rational person can read the future when it comes to the Trump administration. Anything could happen at any moment, at any time. I can't predict what's going to happen in 6 minutes, let alone in 6 days. I went to shoot the CRZ intros. I look at my stock portfolio. It's up 9%. I'm like, what the hell happened? I mean, the zoo parking lot. What the hell happened?
That sums up 2025 in a nutshell.
Zoo park.
All right, we gotta move on to we gotta move on to questions. Questions. Now, remember, you too can ask a question. You go to carsandbids.com, you click on the community tab, and there will be a post there that says, "Ask us your questions," and I will select the best questions, not the most upvoted, but the best questions.
There were 247 questions last
Yeah, a
week.
lot.
Yeah, but dude, there are some good questions. That's why I wanted to make sure we have time for it. And we got decent time this time. So
Yeah.
we're going to do questions legitly. Okay, and the first question, people keep asking us to rank stuff. I've decided I'm only going to do one per episode.
Okay, I think
but
that's
the
wise.
best question, the best rank, there were a lot of suggestions. The best rank is rank the E-classes. This is where the hate will flow. Why?
Because it has on the other things.
There's a
Bring us
question-
the hate.
There's a question that says rank all the Prius models.
I'll do the Priuses later. I want to rank the E-classes
Where are we starting?
from the 124.
We're starting at the 124.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, I want to be clear here. I have owned, not just driven as press cars like my little auto industry compatriots. I have personally owned every generation of E-Class. So people are going to be like, "You're wrong," and I'm going to be like, "No, no."
All right, so it's 124,
You had a 124?
210, 211, 212.
I had a 500E. I had a 93,
the
124,
500E.
500E. By the way, that's the other thing. I didn't just have one of each E-Class. I've had the best
The
of
E-Class.
each E-Class. So let's do this.
All right.
Wait, what?
There are
you had
6
these.
generations.
I'm going to blow
Are we doing
everybody's
just
mind.
general or like AMG?
No,
Like,
general, including the AMGs. I'm going to blow everybody's mind. I already have my ranking.
please.
It's gonna hurt car
Kennan,
enthusiasts.
do you want to be a part of this or is it just Doug and I?
I'll chime in.
All right,
I'll
all right,
provide
all right.
This
support.
is gonna hurt. Car enthusiasts are not gonna like this, but this is the truth. And I have for years I've had an E-Class in my garage. Some of them I only had for 6-8 months. I've had some of them I had for many years. Best 214.
Yeah.
Second best 213. Third best 210.
Really? Over 211? Just for
Oh, 100%. Agreed.
yeah.
So far,
If you want to hear me say 211, you better wait a little while.
I love the 211. But
I put the 124 after the 210.
Over the 212?
Yeah.
People are gonna get mad.
For the record, I own a 212.
People on Instagram,
Yeah.
who love the older stuff and the cheap stuff are going to get mad that we didn't put the 124 first. But I've owned a 124. I know about a biodegradable wiring harness or two. The car was a good start.
You agreed that it was
214,
Do you
213,
agree-
210.
214, 213, 210, 124, 212, 211.
Yeah.
We're
wasn't hard.
stunningly agreed. the best ones, the newest ones are simply the best ones, but there was a period of time that was like
Yeah.
03 to...
Well, it was 03 to 17. I mean,
as it were.
And those were...
And I love my 212, to be clear.
The
I
212
legitimately
great.
love it.
And honestly, the 03 E55, the 211
They're all good.
E55 would maybe be one of my top 3 if I was to rank individual models.
Don't
I
forget
agree.
about the E63 Wagon with the refacing the 09.
Yeah, I had one of those. It wouldn't be near the top.
So cool.
The head bolt motor.
The
Right.
market agrees, by the way, that it's
and
cool.
156. But yeah, I see what you mean in totality about the 211, because in my opinion, of like all the fast AMG, I still put the 211 E55.
The 211,
very near
if
the top.
someone
It's
said
so
to me,
good.
rank the AMGs, the 211 E55 would be really close to the top of this list.
I agree.
In fact, I actually think that the more recent AMGs are less desirable.
Agreed.
Totally.
It's just that the overall car has gotten to be such an unbelievably good complete package in the 213 and 214 generations. They're the best. And people who are going to comment have never driven one because they drive a lot. The people who comment on Instagram and write they drive older stuff. But this is the
And
real
I
ranking.
want to be really clear. Like I said, I own a 212. I own a 24 post facelift 212 wagon. I love it. I think it's an incredibly good car. I've driven it 50,000 miles in
Especially
the
the
last 3 years.
post facelift, especially the non-AMG. Yeah.
It's great. But like, every E-Class is great.
Right.
I agree with the ranking.
The 213 was an unbelievable step up over the 212. I would argue that probably
Massive
the
jump in
greatest
tech.
step up
Everything
of
was
all
fun.
of them was from the 12 to the 13.
tech was a massive jump.
Proven by the fact that the jump from the 13 to the 14 has been, it looks like a facelift, to be honest.
Are you okay with 124 being the thing that breaks them? I think it's just so iconic as like
Well, and
a
it's-
classic Mercedes.
Well, and it's
you
so
put it-
good. It's the classic bank vault build
And it
quality
deserves
Mercedes
to be
was known
somewhere.
for at the time. And it's a small, usable, handsome Bruno Saccaro.
Okay, here's the question then. Would you rather have a 212 E350 wagon or a 124 E320 wagon? 212.
Kind of rather have the 124.
Oh, for crying.
Not as a daily driver, but I'm not an old car.
Regardless, as long as we
Road
agree
tripper.
that it goes 214, 213, 210.
I do.
I'll take that. Okay. Next question. Here's a good one from Ryder17 to Kennan and Filippo. If you were given a choice between one of Doug's previous cars, which would you pick? Previous, got to be sold.
Previous, sold.
I've never
Okay.
sold a good car that I had.
Let's see, sold. I'm going
true.
There's like a lot of truth to this.
He's mad.
About the 360.
And I sold the G-Wagon. What do you got?
You have
yeah,
a
the
lot.
murder G.
Do your
murder
Porsche
G-Wagon.
company cars count?
No.
I mean,
05 Elise. 06.
with no air conditioning. Tough.
I fixed the AC eventually.
I thought it just didn't have it.
No, it had it. It was broken.
Oh,
and I went through the whole summer, and for some reason in like November, I was like, I can't take it anymore, and I fixed it. And then I
Atlanta.
sold it. I don't know. I was 25.
that sounds like something I would
I
do.
was an idiot.
You've owned a lot of cars. If your CTSV wagon were the good one,
Manual one.
then that would have been a choice. But
It's a good
but
daily.
But it wasn't.
The
The
Viper
daily.
GTS was
Yeah?
a great one.
Viper GS was great.
97
Delightful.
Vipper.
Ooh.
I mean, I have a soft. I know it's not a good car, but I very much have a soft spot for the Defender. Like I really love
The
the
NAS
yellow.
90.
Yeah, the
The only good car I ever sold.
I'm surprised you're not saying Vantage.
The Vantage was a good car.
I'm not surprised you're
They're
not saying a Stick 360.
Yeah. Don't forget that.
The answer for me is clear, by the
Yeah.
way. There was a clear car that I loved
210
more.
E55.
No.
Yeah.
Nissan S-Cargo.
S-Cargo.
I
Yes,
love that
you
S-Cargo.
really did
I
love
legitimately love that S-Cargo.
Well, you know, you
for like $5,000. I could
you
buy
can
one.
get one.
Well-
it's not
$6,000 now.
it's not like unavailable for
No,
$5,000.
I'm not going to pay money for
I'm
the
not gonna
experience.
purchase one.
No, but like if I were given one,
What do you got? Stick 360?
I kind of want to remove that one from the list because that's obviously what I would choose. But I think if not that one, I think it's the Viper GTS.
The Viper
like
was
that,
great.
that car was, and the GTS got so many upgrades. And you got the double bubble. Yours was the blue with the white stripes. It was
And at Forged Internals, 96, 97.
right. Yep, exactly. And so that's like the one. And those cars are. I mean, what did you sell yours for? What did you buy?
I bought it for 35, sold it for 34.
Now they're like 100. So I mean,
They're like 70.
no good GTSs
Yeah, but
are
that was-
much.
Mine was
higher.
not a good GTS. It was a driver. It was
Yeah.
a very nice car. Like it didn't have issues, but it wasn't like a show car. I agree with you, boys. Show
Good
cars
ones
are 100.
100. Yeah. So even so, I mean, you own that car at the right time. I've always thought they were cool. So if I
good
couldn't have the
car.
360, which is what I would de facto choose, would be the GTS.
I bought that car in North Carolina, Fuquay Varina.
I'm very familiar.
Yeah, and I
Very
drove
close
it
to where I live.
back to Philly, and it was so cool. And it had little seatbelt covers that said Viper on them.
Yep.
And every time we would go film a video, Doug would refuse to drive it because he hated driving it.
You know what's funny? I deeply regret now getting rid of that car. I wish I had spent more time with that car. I lived in Center City, Philly. It wasn't the car for Philly. If I had that car now, I would really appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was really cool.
They're really cool.
There were a lot of cars pre-mine knowing you, and therefore I don't think about those cars. Because there were E-Class
210
wagons.
E55.
That would have been a good car. There were other good options, but that Escargot lives in my memory.
Okay, next question from Rose76. What is your craziest car press launch story? I don't go to press launches often because I don't care. And I really hate it, honestly. I hate the whole thing. I really think that press launches are totally inappropriate, to be perfectly frank. That they fly the journalists out there first class to Hawaii and put them in the nicest hotel and give them the nicest meals. And they say, please write an objective piece about our Subaru legacy. It's like laughably stupid, right? But I did back in the day when I was starting out. You kind of have to go to them. You don't have any leverage, and by the time that when you're a young guy, the old guys don't want to go to them anymore. They got families. They don't want to be on the road going to the press launch for the facelifted Chevy Colorado short wheelbase.
Oh.
So
Can I go?
The very first press launch I ever went to was for the Lexus IS, which came out in 2012, 2011, something like that. It was the redesign.
Facelift? No, the redesign came out in 08.
Really? No, it was 06 that the
It competed against. I mean, the ISF competed against.
It was the
E9
next gen.
and
It wasn't the
XF3.
ISF gen.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't the ISF gen. Then 13.
13? So
13.
probably in spring of 12, which makes sense. That was right when I was starting out.
08 was the facelift.
Or
Was the
summer of
drum
12.
before it.
I went to the first press launch I ever went to, which was the Lexus IS, and I don't remember where it was. But it was in the West somewhere. Anyway, I went out there, and the fellow who ran marketing for Lexus, He gets up on the stage, and I'm nervous. Like, I'm young. Everyone in this industry is very collegiate. They all know each other. And I'm there for my first press launch ever. I don't know anybody. I'm just a little baby child. I'm like 24. I'm like sitting there with like the little notebook, like, I better take notes on this car. I don't know what to do. And the guy gets up there, the marketing guy for Lexus gets up there, and he says, the first thing he says to the room of journalists before the presentation, he says, the new Lexus IS is the car for people who want to stop blending in and start blending out. And I thought to myself, I've chosen the wrong industry. I can't believe I quit my job. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And anyway, we got better from there. Not that launch.
Widely panned, that car, by the way, for the styling.
You know where it was? It was in Austin, actually, because they took us to a racetrack, but not the Formula One track, some like little go-karting track.
In an IS 350.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Wow.
F-Sport.
F-Sport.
The big selling point of that car, do you remember what it was?
Was it the mouse?
No.
It was that the running lights were underneath the headlights and like a little
That was one of
Nike
the
thing.
big things that have helped you blend out.
Yeah.
But the
It was not
big
pretty.
selling point was that the gauge cluster would move like the LFA.
I forgot about
That was like the coolest part of the 2012
It's not a
IS.
bad car, I guess, but man,
No, it was fine.
you never see those around.
Okay, anyway, so I don't really have any other crazy press launch stories. I really, 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 really don't go to them often. And when I do, I'm kind of annoying about it. I tell the automaker, look, I'm going to be in and out. Give me a car or don't. If you don't want me to, I'm just not going to come. I just hate it. Okay, next question for Kennan from British Car Driver. Hey guys, this question is directed at Kennan. As a Ferrari purist, do you think the hate on the Roma is deserved?
Not necessarily. I think that it's like the entry-level Ferrari generally gets a lot of hate. California got a lot of hate. Was it a bad car? It wasn't the best Ferrari, but it didn't make it a bad car. I actually quite like the way the first gen drove. And the same thing kind of applies to the Roma. Like when it came out, I wasn't sure about the styling necessarily. Like the integrated grille thing is kind of weird, but they do drive very well.
Yeah.
I think they look very elegant. It's a very simple looking Ferrari. It's a very pretty looking car. And honestly, it's something you can use every day.
And it's not $1 zillion like all the other Ferrari. I mean, it's very expensive.
No, it's very expensive, and Lord knows if you're going to buy one for Ferrari and you want to be on the list, you got to play the game and add $100,000 in options, and that's where they make their money. But I think that it actually is a pretty good car. I don't love the screens instead of buttons. I hate that, but I hate that on all modern Ferraris. So actually, no, I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets.
I will also say entry-level cars from any enthusiast brand will always get hate.
Yeah.
Like the
The
Boxster, we
Boxster.
know how good the Boxster Cayman are, but they still are viewed as not a real, et cetera, et cetera. Like you could take this list down, base model Mustang, base model Challenger, the V6, the four cylinders, they're not
Huracan.
real, you know.
Totally. And so, no, I as a purist, I recognize its place in the lineup.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good car, and yeah, I don't really have any issues
I agree.
with it
I think
at
it's great.
Kennan's going to go out and buy a Roma.
It's not the dream car.
I'm not saying that.
It's not the dream car, but it's
No, but-
it's got a place in the lineup for a public company that wants to make money. And honestly, it drives well.
Did the Roma, Spider, and Portofino need to exist at the same time?
Well, they don't anymore.
But they did for a time, and was that the case? Then I felt differently about it.
Here's a question that's coming from a user with the username Buick. This is the best question we've ever been asked on Cars.
My
and
goodness.
Kids.
Okay.
Don't read the question. Let me tell you it and surprise you because it's so good. The G-Wagon sells so well. Do you think there's a market for Jeep or Ford to sell a luxury version of their Wrangler and Bronco under the Chrysler and Lincoln brands, respectively? You know, on its face, this question sounds like the stupid ramblings of someone who doesn't understand life. But when you think about it,
Their name is Buick.
what about a Lincoln Bronco?
So here's the thing. My answer is mixed on this because the answer is yes. I think they could sell a luxury version.
Yeah.
I think that those are not the correct brands, and they should keep it under the Jeep and Ford.
Well,
respectively.
Jeep, Chrysler, that would be a
that's
mistake.
not the right
There's no luxury brand
But-
there. I don't think that's a good idea generally. But what about a Lincoln Bronco?
I think that Ford could go for a luxury version of the Bronco, the same way that the Ford F-150 has the Platinum or the King Ranch or whatnot trims. I think there's room for a luxury trim of every off-roader.
Isn't that the Raptor?
Well,
No, the Raptor is a high-performance version.
High-performance.
Yeah, but it's also loaded with stuff. It's got a heated steering
but it's
wheel.
focused.
the King
is
Ranch,
performance.
the King Ranch, or whatever the Texas edition, whatever the top
Texas
it existed. King Ranch, etc. There could be a King Ranch Bronco Certainly, I don't think moving it to the Lincoln umbrella is the right call. That's
Maybe.
not what that
But
brand
I
is.
think his point is it would do a lot for Lincoln as a brand if they had
It's
a
not-
G-Wagon
what,
competitor.
You're going to get somebody in there and they're also going to look at the Corsair.
Well, why don't you sell the Lincoln G-Wagon to them? The Mercedes-Benz sells a lot of
The
G-Wagons.
styling would have to be
And by the
so
way,
different, and it doesn't align with Lincoln.
Why isn't the answer to that question yes? Mercedes-Benz sells a lot of G-Wagons, and then they sell a lot of CLAs to people in Newport Beach who look at G-Wagons and they're like, I wish I could be that someday.
That's fair. I just don't think Lincoln tried with the Mark LT, and then again.
Well, no,
with
Lincoln
the Mark
tried.
LT.
Lincoln tried even earlier than that. I mean, you think about the Blackwood. They just took it
Yeah,
up
but
15
you're talking about trucks, and truck buyers, it has now
fair.
been proven, want to buy trucks from mainstream brands. Nobody wants a Lincoln truck in their garage. They want a Ford truck.
I think the issue
However, a Lincoln G-Wagon based on the Bronco, this is not stupid.
Here's the thing.
Is Jim Farley listening to this? Does he listen to this podcast?
He might.
We get a lot of messages from people who work in the auto industry.
I don't think it's that idea, but like the same way that I think every manufacturer has realized that they can do both luxury and still have a luxury brand. Cadillac versus GMC Denali. Both exist. I think that Lincoln is not quite capable of doing an off-roader well, and I don't think that's what buyers are interested in.
To create brand image, this is how you do
I
it.
don't think you can fake. I think that, honestly, I think that Lincoln should maybe just like stop to exist.
No,
despite the fact
that
that
is
I
so
love Lincoln's
completely
products.
wrong.
I love Lincoln's products. Nobody else does.
You don't understand. Lexus exists, Mercedes exists. I don't understand.
They sell cars.
Lincoln deserves more investment, and I have an idea for more investment. A Lincoln G-Wagon. This suggestion, which ironically comes from Buick.
Right.
This suggestion is one of the great suggestions in the history of the car
Why
business.
hasn't Ford done a high country Bronco?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Why hasn't Chevrolet done a Blazer Denali?
Well, they don't do a Blazer.
Chevrolet does a Blazer. That's a joke.
I think I don't know. When I think back on this, like, why is the G-Wagon so successful? You know, it was a military vehicle that was cool, so it had that. And then, like, that was in the '90s. That was kind of when Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing the Hummer thing. They made a civilian version for him. Like, that was seen as cool, that kind of macho thing. And then it took off, and Mercedes leaned into the luxury side of things with it. But to do that now, like to bring out a totally new thing and then build around that, and it's a pretty heavy lift.
But the success of the G-Wagon is because of this heritage design that was steeped in capability. And that's what the Bronco is. It has a heritage design that is steeped in capability. BMW tried to steal the G-Wagon's thunder with the XM and
failed.
doesn't get it. In Munich, they don't get it, right? But this, and remember, I predicted all the news stories this week. This is it. Like, this is a good, I got to give credit to Buick. This is a great,
The guy, not brand.
this is it. Like, this is the heritage design. BMW doesn't have that heritage, so they're not able to actually do that credibly. But Ford is.
Lincoln doesn't have that either. But there was never a Lincoln off-roader.
There never
Lincoln has
was
a Zephyr.
There
I mean, they
never
don't
was
have
a
either.
luxury Mercedes off-roader until they turned the G-Wagon into
They
a
had
luxury
an
car.
existing product that had a very specific image that they made luxurious.
It sounds like what Lincoln's going to do to the Bronco,
No,
an
but
existing
within the-
product with a specific image that they make luxurious.
I just don't. I don't think you can force that. I don't think you can recreate that.
They didn't force it with the G-Wagon. It
I think
naturally
there's also a
evolved.
lot of examples like Porsche, because I'm looking at a Cayenne. When it came out, the thought was we're going to have an off-road. The first gen Cayenne was off-road capable, and no modern one is.
Well,
like,
because
I think there's not actually interest.
They took the Cayenne a different direction.
But I don't think there was interest in the off-roading.
There's no interest in Graz. The G-Wagon has literally given life to the people of Graz.
Yeah.
Like that town.
The Austrians are thankful.
The Austrians, that town, every restaurant in Graz should be like thanking Mercedes-Benz.
Publicly.
Like, hey, we would have closed if it wasn't for the fact that this car has been here for 30 years.
You can't fake it. You can't just say we're going to recreate it.
This isn't fake. The XM was fake. The Bronco is not fake. It is a real car with real heritage, a real design, and real capability.
And Ford should build that lineup out more and have a luxury version of it.
Nah, dude. Lincoln G-Wagon. And you know what you call it because they name their cars? You call it something like really big.
How does the Navigator? You're going to
like the
Navigator
Lincoln
press launch.
Rock.
Oh.
No, too aggressive. Because
You
it
get
has to
my
be softer. But yeah, something.
You're going to the Lincoln Navigator press launch.
I'm going to Navigator press launch on Friday.
How many Navigators do they sell?
A lot. The Navigator was
that aren't too Uber blacks.
The Navigator was pretty popular, especially when it first came out. So was the Aviator. Those were high quality products. The problem is that Lincoln's product cycles are too long.
Yeah.
And that they don't. And the other problem is they don't have a G-Wagon competitor.
Okay, I'm coming around to this legitimately, but it could be Bronco based. But in my head, I was thinking about like a luxury Bronco the same way that Lincoln, when they did the Aviator, took an Explorer, the original Aviator, took the Explorer, changed the taillights.
No.
Changed nothing else.
They got to do better than that.
It needs to be like a full Lincoln version of that, not just a Bronco with leather.
It needs to be a
Ford should
seriously
make a Bronco with
well-done
more leather.
car.
Yeah.
Right. And considering the Bronco, the roof leaks and all that stuff. Like
No, that only happened early on.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's a market for, what it would take, given that Audi can make a Sportback of anything, which is a completely new roof design, how hard would it be to just make a non-opening roof on a Bronco?
Also, they don't have that problem anymore, legitimately.
So make it, but I don't think that this vehicle, if positioned by the Lincoln brand, should even have an opening
No,
roof.
of course not. But
The way
not a
I'm
Bronco.
thinking of it is it's a giant glass roof and it's got a V8 and it
And
feels like
screens here, here. And also, maybe the roof is a screen?
yeah, the roof is a screen.
the roof is a
See, you're
screen.
getting on this now.
I'm getting there.
Thank you to
I
Buick.
love Lincoln, by the way. I love the Lincoln SUVs. I pushed everybody I know towards one. Nobody has taken me up on it.
The Nautilus is a great car. It was almost like car of the year.
The Aviator, I thought is a great car. It looks great. I'm coming around to
if
this.
there
Buick,
was-
you were correct. I'm sorry for saying that you were wrong.
Imagine if, okay, so you now agree.
Yeah, but I think that it's both. I think that Ford should make a luxury Bronco, and then Lincoln should figure out what their own product based on that is.
You know what you call it? You call it the Granite. The Lincoln Granite. The Lincoln Basalt.
Jim, you listen?
The Lincoln, I'm looking up.
Are you looking at Porsche cars
I'm
right
looking
now?
up rocks that are like tough. Because that's what I think it should be named
Well,
for.
tough but luxurious. Like,
like-
tough but
like
refined.
Blackwood.
Blackwood. Maybe they should bring back the Blackwood name for this.
It would actually work.
Bring back
This
Blackwood.
isn't stupid. Remember, don't forget, Mercedes makes $74 billion for every G-Wagon they sell.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, the other example here was Jeep and Chrysler. That's not the right positioning there.
No.
And also Jeep sells a $100,000 SUV. Jeep tries to sell a $100,000 SUV. And I think they could go up market with the Wrangler in their own lineup. The Grand Wrangler, if you will.
The Grand Wrangler.
They could maybe. Wranglers are already sold to really rich people. It's like shocking.
Well, so there's money to be made.
Last question, because we're over time. Final question from Core 2 Ran. Doug, if Chevy moves all of its production to the U.S. because of these tariffs, should they make an actual competitive K5 Blazer to celebrate its heritage instead of basically 4 variations of the Equinox? 4 variations of the Equinox? Excuse me. 2 variations of the Equinox and then 2 variations of the Trax.
And the Blazer. Can you pull up something for me?
Sure.
The answer to this question is, of course, yes, but it has nothing to do with the tariffs. This should have happened 10 years ago regardless. This is another example of bad product planning from General Motors.
Yep, buddy.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, somebody already makes a new version of the K5.
We don't need, click on this. We don't
Or
need,
the one.
oh, look at that.
This, my friends, is based on a
We
RAV4.
don't need Chevy to do it.
Oh,
Mitsuoka
this is the
is doing
only
it.
attractive picture of this car.
No, go back to the
Deep
previous pictures.
Photoshop.
This is way too dark to be seen on the screen.
Go to the one that has the blue.
Click on
that
this,
one.
for
Yeah,
Christ's
yeah,
sake.
yeah. It has both angles.
What this is,
It's an SRX from the back, a K5 Blazer from the front, and it's based on a RAV4.
RAV4. The answer to this question, and by the way, this is only in Japan. Another thing the Japanese get that we didn't: the R34 Skyline, the Evo 6, the GC8 Impreza, the 22B, and the Mitsuoka Buddy. The answer to this question is, of course, but it has nothing to do with the tariffs. I truly think that making the Blazer not a Bronco competitor is one of the most laughably bad automotive decisions that has been made in the last 25 years.
That's right.
And it's proven by the fact that the Bronco has been a massive runaway success. The Blazer has been primarily confined to rental car fleets and also nobody, because in some cases, even the rental car companies are like, no, thanks
Correctly
though.
so.
And it's just the kind of stuff you get from GM. You know, GM does such a good job some of the time and such a bad job some of the time. And I don't understand why they don't just do better.
Yep. And on that,
You agree with me.
and hopefully Mary Barra is listening.
You agree with me.
100%.
It should have been a real K5 Blazer.
Without
And you know
a
what?
singular doubt.
If they did it, there should be a Cadillac version and it should be a G-Wagon.
For what it's worth, like they have the Tahoe, which is a good product. They could have just made a smaller Tahoe,
Yeah, I mean, to do it right.
which, by the way, is what the Blazer version was.
To do it right, you would want, well, there was no Tahoe originally. To do it right,
Yeah, it was.
To do it right, you would want to do it like the Bronco, where you do like a ground. You wouldn't want to just make a smaller Tahoe. You'd want to do removable doors.
They could have, and it would have been better than the actual Blazer.
It wouldn't have sold though. A 2-door Tahoe wouldn't sell.
No, but like style differently instead of 2-door Blazer, it would have worked. It would have been better than the current Blazer.
I don't know about that.
Would have been better than the current
Doing
Blazer.
a
Is the
Bronco-
lowest bar anybody could possibly.
The current
bar.
Blazer is the worst car on sale, except for the Maserati Gran Turismo.
I'm debating this in my head for a second.
Come at me. You thinking Grand Wagoneer? No.
No, I'm not. It crossed my mind, but I skipped past it. No, you're right.
Worst car on sale. Current Blazer. Is it even still on sale? And the Gran Turismo, which
The Blazer
isn't.
EV, good car. Blazer not EV, bad car.
Yeah, the Blazer EV is fine. The Blazer regular is bad. I want to be clear about that because they're completely different cars.
Just like the Equinox and Equinox EV. Yes, both exist.
Both exist. Okay, that's our podcast. Do you have any parting thoughts, Kennan?
Let's American manufacturers make a G-Wagon.
Make a G. Everybody should.
Everybody
build
should.
it. And
G-Wagons for all.
What is the Grotz of America?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Like a secondary country to America that can be used for manufacturing. Whatever country it is, I think we tariff them. I think it's not going to work.
Damn, what a shame.
The answer is probably like Indiana because there's no other options.
The Grotz of America.
There's no other options right now. Anyway, watch Trump's going to start tariffing Indiana.
As an Ohioan, he'd be thrilled.
He'd be like, yeah. Keep
Indiana, a lot of tariffs are coming your way, Indiana.
That's true, actually, even though anyway, thank you for watching. We absolutely appreciate it. We love everyone and everything, especially Filippo.
Except for the tariffs.
Except for the tariffs, which we hate. Goodbye.
Goodbye.